to the person who's operating it in real time. For those of you who are in the back and don't have a good view of it, don't worry. What we're going to do here is I'm going to talk a little bit about the rover, answer a few questions, and then we're going to operate the rover briefly in this terrain model here with genuine Central Park moon rocks, and then we'll allow people to act as the event here concludes. We'll let those of you who are very interested come up to the front and get a good view of it, and even perhaps allow a few of you to take turns operating it. I want to emphasize that this CAMELOT-2 rover is a prototype that has just recently become partially operational within the last few days. The first time we actually even made this rover move was last week. So that's how recent this R&D is. So we're not guaranteeing any results. All we're guaranteeing is that you get to see what it looks like, and I'll get to tell you what it's supposed to do. Hopefully, if we're fortunate, you'll also get to see it move, get to see some of its mobility capabilities, and get to see some of the video and data transmission capabilities. Most of you can probably see it's a 6-wheel design based on the design of previous US and Russian rovers, including the Rocky rovers developed by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the Marshall rovers developed by Labochkin in Russia. The suspension is designed to allow each pair of wheels, front, middle, and back, has an independently pivoting axis that lets the wheels maneuver and climb over rocks without tilting the suspension too much. We have, I mentioned video is a very important part of this rover. What we plan to do eventually is send a fleet of rovers, perhaps this size, perhaps even smaller than this, to the moon, and let people operate them from Earth, from destinations all over the planet. And one of the key technologies that we're focusing on is the ability to get video from several rovers at a time, the ability to get data from instruments on the rovers at the same time, the ability to distribute control of those rovers among many operators at different locations around the planet, and the ability to prevent those operators from inadvertently or purposely hurting the rover. And this capability is what we call an executive controller. What it basically will do, it will serve the same purpose as air traffic control does for airplanes. It'll monitor the status and location of where each of these rovers are and alert each individual operator and perhaps one central coordinator as to when there is a possibly dangerous situation. For example, if two rovers are about to collide, or if a rover is about to go over an embankment that's too deep for it to handle, the executive controller will sense this problem and send information to the people involved in operating the rover, and if necessary, actually prevent those people from continuing to operate the rover if this dangerous situation isn't avoided. A bird's eye view camera up here. These are pretty much conventional full-color NTSC video. Oh, here we go. Chris is, I hope he's operating it. Looks like it's got personality. Do we have video up yet, Chris? Okay, he's still playing with the video. Believe it or not, the video is sometimes the most difficult thing to get working because every hotel has different setups and different VCRs and different connectors are all out there. So you'd think that sometimes the simplest things would be, sometimes what you'd think would be the simplest things are the most difficult things to get to work right. Some of the things on this rover that are not so simple are in this black box. In fact, most of the things that our company did that are unique are in that black box. There are many organizations out there that are developing rovers. There's Lunar and Carnegie Mellon. I certainly want to give them all credit for developing rovers, different mobility chassis. What we're trying to focus on, we don't want to reinvent, we're a small company in San Diego. We don't pretend to compete with large multi-million-dollar institutes that are doing tremendous work in robotics. What we're focusing on is, again, this ability to get data and video from several rovers simultaneously. And the guts of the rover's capability to do that are in this black box mounted on the center of it. What is inside that box are a number of sensors. There's a thermometer there, a thermal probe. There's an inclinometer that gauges how much the rover is tilting or rolling. There's There's a battery charge indicator that tells you how much battery power you have left, and so forth. And they're all wired together and connected to converters and an onboard computer, which is no bigger than a postcard. Very nifty little computer that is fully programmable. We program it from the PC that is over there. And what happens is the data from all these sensors and the video image from the cameras is all processed and sent to this video transmitter right here. Actually, I take that back. The video is sent to the transmitter, and the data from all the sensors is sent to this white device here, which you probably can't see, but next to the black transmitter is a wireless modem, which is just similar to the modem you use to get onto the internet or communicate electronic mail or whatever. Far the heaviest part of the rover is the battery, which provides power to the whole gizmo. That particular battery can run that rover for, we think, about 3 or 4 hours. So the whole idea here is that the person who operates the rover from a standard PC monitor can not only send controls over the modem link to tell the rover to move frontwards, backwards, turn left, turn right, but on the computer monitor, the operator also will get information from all those sensors. And one of the things that we've done at ISC is we've developed some very colorful, easy to understand little icons that explain to you, that even if you're not a numerical genius or a rocket scientist, they explain in practical visual terms whether the rover is tilting over too much, whether the battery, just like in your car, the gauges in your car are designed so that virtually anybody at any intelligence level can drive a car. And those of you who see people driving in New Jersey know that's true. So you know when your fuel is running low. Similarly, we have a gauge here that is just like a battery. It's a battery power gauge that is analogous to a fuel gauge in your car, and so forth. And I believe those icons, Chris, are those icons up on the monitor? You can, for those of you who happen to be near the front, we'll let you file up. Is it possible maybe just to rotate the monitor a little bit? So, okay. Okay, we, for some reason, are unable to get the video onto the large TV screen. I apologize for that. We're going to have to settle for the small TV screen, but because these VHF and UHF transmitters that we use to send good quality video to the TV won't be usable when we put these things on the moon. We're going to have much lower data rates because of the limitations. Here you see the, let me just interrupt myself, you just saw the mobility feature. If we can go forward again and see how the wheels, here we go, see how the chassis, oops. Give it a helping hand here. There we go. As I said, this is R&D in process, and this is one of actually 4 chassis that we're experimenting with. And one of the problems with this particular rover is this battery is so heavy, it tends to throw things off a little bit. We're going to remedy that by breaking up the battery into little pieces. In fact, one of the other rovers that we're designing, the batteries are actually in the wheels, which helps you out because it takes the weight off the top and reduces the center of gravity. But as I mentioned, our major contribution is not to coming up with a really fantastic new way of achieving mobility, although that may result from this eventually. This is really a test platform to let us test out a new kind of control system. And getting back to my earlier comments, I was talking about the video compression. A lot of neat things will come of the ability to take the video and compress it and send it over a phone line to a computer. You're not going to get quite as good a quality video as you do on a normal VCR, normal what we call NTSC standard video quality. But it's definitely good enough to see where the rover's going and to judge obstacles and their distances. That gives you a lot of capabilities. For example, you could disseminate operation of a rover like this, the CAMELOT-2 rover, over the internet. And you could have people using this video compression technique that our partner International Telepresence is one of the companies we're working with, and they actually developed this video compression technique. You can operate a rover like this, sending control commands over the internet and also get video over the internet. And that is a breakthrough, because up until recent years, the only way you could transmit video over long distances would either be a satellite or a very high data capacity ground lines like fiber optics, T1 lines, things like that. And both of those options are very expensive. You need dedicated phone lines, or you need to pay to rent a satellite for $1,000 an hour, things like that. So one of the key breakthroughs of this system is integrating a video compression system that lets you get good enough video in real time over the internet or over a standard phone line. So basically, all you're paying for is internet time, or the price of a phone call at worst. And those technologies are improving. The video quality you get through that process is continually being improved right now. It's a very rapidly improving state of the art. It might be possible that 5 years from now, over the internet, you can get video quality that is almost as good as what you get on a television set. When you come up and you look at our computer monitor, you'll see the icons. You'll see a box above the icons, the data icons, that shows you where the video image normally would be. We don't have that video image up and running today. It is operational. It has been developed, but again, with the connectors that we had here and the limited time we had to set this up and test it here at the hotel, we were not able to get the computer image. But you do have the small TV image, which gives you the general sense of what the operator will see. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. And every time something like that happens, we'll figure out a way to prevent that particular thing, hopefully, from happening again. And that, over the course of a number of years, the Kennedy Space Center exhibit will teach us to create an executive controller that 3 or 4 years from now, when we launch a mission to the moon and we spend $100 million to do that, we won't destroy a $1 or $2 or $3 million rover, hopefully. So this is really the first time we've shown anybody in the public outside of our company and our team this rover, and this is really the first of what will hopefully be a long series of public demonstrations. And we also want to get your feedback. We'd like to know what you think of this. As I mentioned, there are other organizations, other museums, visitor centers, entertainment centers that have come to us and asked about the possibility of having prototype systems like this set up, because they like the idea of having the public come in and operate something that's very similar to something that will be sent to the moon, and just because it's just plain fun to operate it when it's working. And so, how much does it weigh? Well, the total thing weighs about between 20 and 25 pounds. It's actually so new we haven't even weighed it yet. The battery, we do know, weighs 14 pounds, and we know that's heavier than the whole rest of the rover combined. The basic chassis, the wheels weigh about, I'd say about a pound each, with the motors and gears inside. The tube assembly that the wheels are connected to weighs a couple pounds. The plate that the battery and electronics are attached to is fairly heavy. It's much heavier than it needs to be. We're going to replace that with something that's lighter, like a plastic type material. So while the whole thing right now weighs about 23, 24 pounds, we think we can probably get it well under 20 pounds. And the battery technology really is a driver. And battery technologies are improving very rapidly. What kind of battery is this? Is this lead acid? This is a typical lead acid battery, not too dissimilar to what you have in your car. But there are other nickel metal hydride and lithium batteries and other types of batteries we're experimenting with that will hopefully let us take some of the weight. You see how the whole thing the pan is kind of tilted forward. That's because during shipping, the battery weighed so much that the thing got jerked around a little bit and actually bent the post that is holding up that metal plate. It's not supposed to tilt, and if you Chris, are the icons up and running? This particular rover is not constructed of the types of materials that would be used on the moon. Let me get that out of the way first. That is not the focus of our research right now. What our research is focused on is a control system, and that will then be taken off of prototypes like this and placed on rovers that are designed for the lunar day-night cycle. To answer your question, when we do build rovers that are designed for the lunar day-night cycle, we will use materials that are don't expand thermally when it gets hot, don't contract thermally when it gets cold, so they don't get warping and so forth. We will have a lot of solar cells on the rover to collect the solar energy during the 2-week lunar day cycle, and batteries on board to keep the rover at least at a basic operating level during the night cycle. The biggest problem on the moon is not really the temperatures are one of the biggest problems, but another big problem is the lunar dust. There is a tremendous amount of very fine, powdery dust all over the surface of the moon. And if that dust gets into the gears, the motors, the mechanisms of the rover, or even if they start to coat the camera lens, it can hamper the operation of the rover. So everything needs to be sealed, and in terms of lens covers, we'll need lens covers or wipers or something to, if we want to really care about the clarity of the visuals. Another major problem on the moon is power. The rovers, you can't go to your local recharging station on the moon, at least not yet, although that is an option. One of the things our company is doing, aside from the rover work, is we're working with several Russian aerospace firms to develop a lunar lander that can take a very large payload, including perhaps a nuclear generator that rovers can go in and plug into. That might be something that our control technology lets people do. It lets them know when they have to go in for a recharge. And this is kind of a peculiar environment here because the sheets kind of move as well as the rocks and limits the traction. So anyway, as I was saying, recharging and telling the user the operator when he or she needs to recharge the thing. But you're getting a good view here. This particular rover likes to go around in circles. The way we steer it right now is, those of you who have computer keyboards and have looked at them carefully probably know that in the lower right-hand corner you have a bunch of number keys with arrows on them. And the way we operated this, when we wanted to go forward, we press the up arrow. When we wanted to go backward, we press the down arrow. And when we wanted to turn right or left, we press the right or left arrow. One of the developmental idiosyncrasies of this rover is when you press the right or left arrow, it will obey, but then it won't do anything else. It will just keep going left or right on occasion. So that's a software problem. It's not a big deal. Again, first time we got the rover up and running was, I think, Monday or Tuesday, and we've had to be on an airplane on Thursday. So you're seeing the very first tests of this very first week of testing concluding right here. Are we out of time?
Yeah.
Do we want to take questions, or? Sure. Do we want to officially take conclusion and just let people who are really hang out?
Michael, thank you very much. And